Hello, good day everyone. And today I'm going to be showing you how to add a Microsoft Windows 10 client to Windows Server 2019. Now, this video is in two parts, right? This part will focus on adding a Windows 10 client to Windows 2019, right? But the other parts will be focused on adding a older Windows client. So in the next part, I'll be adding a Windows Vista client to the Windows Server 2019. Okay, so this part just focuses on adding a Windows 10 client to Windows Server 2019. Okay, so first order of business, I want to make a correction, right? From my last video, right? I made an error when setting the static IP address for the Windows Server 2019. I used the 10 IP addresses, which you wasn't supposed to, especially if it's just for testing purposes, right? I should have used a C class IP address, which starts with 192. So that is just an error I made last video for the static IP address. I would show you all how to fix it in this video, right? In which instead we would use the C class IP addresses. Now, upon launching VirtualBox, go into your virtual machines, your client, and also your server. And I'll go into the server for now. And on top here, this is very important. You have to do this, or else your devices will not connect to one another, right? So go into network settings, and essentially you have to change the adapter to VirtualBox proprietary one. Okay, so I think the default would be NAT, right? And from NAT you will change it to host only adapter, right? And it will supply you with a VirtualBox host only Ethernet adapter, right? And secondly, expand on advanced and make sure this box is checked, right? Cable connected, right? You also have to replicate this onto the client side also. So you would go into devices, go into network, same as before, network settings, and make sure it is on host only adapter. The default would be NAT. And go on to advanced and make sure the same is here also. And make sure cable connected is ticked. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the network discovery is turned on the server. So right click on the adapter icon, open network and internet settings. Okay, go on to network and sharing center, change the advanced sharing settings, and the current profile, make sure that turn on network discovery is checked. Also on the guest or public, make sure that is turned on, and also on the private, right? So this will allow any client machines to be able to see the server, right? So it provides server visibility essentially, right? Now I had a problem with this where turn on, I would press the option for it to turn on. I would save the changes and go back in, and the changes would reset. So any change that I made, it will not replicate. It will not keep the change now. But what I did is I looked at a tutorial from a website, and they were able to fix the problem for me. So if you are having that same issue, right, where your changes made were not saved, I would put the link for the website in the description of this video, and you can check it out, and hopefully it works for you. And you also have to do the same on the client side. So right click, follow the same steps, go into network and sharing center, go into change advanced sharing settings. Now, the funny thing is I was not getting it on the client side, the issue I was having with the changes resetting, but I was getting it on the server. So you may have the same issue, but just click the link in the description below and it should help you resolve it, right? So just copy the steps to know network discovery in the private, which is my current profile, right? It may be different future, but just make sure network discovery is turned on in the private, guest or public categories. Okay, so I am presently on the server side, and I'm going to do stuff on the server side before I get to the client side. Okay, so first things first, what you want to do is obviously log in, and what we're going to do now is set up our IP addresses, right, and make the corrections that is needed based on the last video. So I will be right clicking open network and internet settings, go into network and sharing center, go into change adapter settings, right click on Ethernet, go into properties. And the mistake we made last video is that we put our IP addresses as 10 dots, right? When it was supposed to be C class. Okay. So the IP address I used, which I also recommend you use, is 192.168.0.1 with the default subnet mask, right? And also the preferred DNS server. Now keep in mind that the DNS server rule is installed on this server, which is very important, especially when it comes to adding devices. So just make sure you do that as well. And also the preferred DNS server. I just put the IP address, the C class IP address, what we had here. Okay, so that would be your preferred DNS server. Okay, you can leave the default gateway as is and just click OK, and your settings will be applied, right? And now we are moving on to the client side, which is on our Windows 10 operating system. You do the same, but except you're going to be using the .2. Do the same, you go into network and sharing center, into change adapter settings, go into properties, double click on Internet Protocol version 4, and instead of using the 192.168.0.1, you put the .2 instead, right? And default gateway will be the IP address of the server, right? So it's 192.168.0.1, and the preferred DNS server will obviously be the server that we are connecting to, right? Which is mine is named JF Test server, right? Which has the .local extension as the domain name. So we'll be connecting to that, okay? Now let us test our connection and make sure that connectivity is somewhat established between the device you're trying to connect and the server. So to do this, you type in ping space, one space, and the IP address of the server you are trying to connect to, which in this case would be the server with the IP address 192.168.0.1. Now, as you can see, upon pressing enter, as you can see, connection is established because we are getting a reply from the server. Okay, so that is how you know that there's some sort of acknowledgement from the server. Okay, so now we can finally join our client to the domain, right? So my domain is named jftest.local. So now we can go into our control panel, right? Now remember, this is the client machine. So go into the control panel on your client machine. So control panel, go into system and security, go into system. And before you do anything, please take note of the Windows edition, right? Because certain Windows versions, I think home versions in particular, do not support Active Directory join. So that is why I'm using the Enterprise edition, which does accept Active Directory join, okay? Just to let you know. Okay, so from here, you can go to change settings, right? And go to change. Before anything, give your computer a more meaningful name. So I'm just going to call it Windows 10 client, Windows 10. Now remember, this is just one section of the video. The next section, we're going to be using an older version of Windows, okay? So after you give your computer a more meaningful name, you click on the domain, right, instead of the workgroup, and just enter your domain name .local, right? So make sure and put in the whatever extension you have, right? Okay, so now Windows prompts us to enter an account with permission to join the domain. Okay, so as you can see, after we entered the account with permission to join the domain, which in my case was using the administrator account for the domain. So in the username, I put administrator, and in the password, I put the password that I use for the administration account on the server. Okay, so that is what I did. And after, as you can see, we got welcome to the jftest.local domain. Okay, and it is asking us to restart our computer to apply changes. Okay, Okay, so while our client side machine is restarting, let us just check to see if the client side machine shows up in the server. Okay, so to do that, just enter. Right, so to do that, what you will do is click on Server Manager. Right, so to do that, you will go into Tools, click on Tools, go to Active Directory Users and Computers, click on that. Right, expand the domain, go into Computers, and as you can see, our Windows 10 client shows up here. So that means that the computer has been added to the domain. Okay. Okay, so we're back on the client side now. And what I did after the computer restarted, I logged in using the domain administrator account, right? So I clicked on other users, right? Because I wanted to log in with using the domain administrator account, not just the local client side administrator account. Now to do that, you would you would enter the domain name, right? So it would be whatever your domain name is, slash forward slash administrator. And then what you would do is enter the password for the domain administrator, okay? And you should be met with this screen verifying that you have logged in to the domain. Okay, and just to verify that our client side machine has been added to the domain, you can go to Control Panel, right? Go to System, go to System, in System and Security. And if you watch down here, Domain, gftest.local, and this is on the client side, right? So that was our domain name. And as you can see, it has been added.